Next, we're going to welcome Andrew Griffiths. Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Amanda. Okay, I just want to say, this is very difficult acts to follow here. I'm here to talk about someone's got to be the most expensive, it may as well be you. It feels like a rapid change of direction, and I apologise in advance.
Andrew, for those of you who don't know him, is Australia's #1 business author, entrepreneurial futurist, and global speaker with 14 best-selling books, sold in 65 countries. He challenges entrepreneurs to think bigger, bolder, and braver. This fabulous book, which I am not going to lie, has come to bed with me and on a travel trip. Someone Has to Be the Most Expensive, Why Not Make It You, is a game-changing manifesto for entrepreneurs ready to stop competing on price and actually start owning their value, something we can all do. Packed with big ideas, bold strategies, and real-world wisdom, it shows you how to become unforgettable, in demand, and unapologetically premium. Okay. Andrew, you have written 14 best-selling books. Like, give me a break, right? Why is this book, and why now? Why this book, why now? And what problem is it actually solving for speakers?
Great question. Can I ask the audience a question? If I said to you, honestly, who here in the room feels that they charge what they're truly worth? 1, 2, 3. Okay, I've asked that question to 100,000 people over the last few years, and the average response in the room is 2%. Okay, this room, it's even lower. Okay, if I asked you how many of you want to actually charge what you're worth, how many would put up their hand for that? Obvious question. Some of you don't want to, I don't know why you're here, right? But the reality is that's an issue, There's an incredible thing where people just aren't charging what they're worth in many, many industries. Because of what's happening in here, the stories we tell, the stories we've been told, our poverty mentality. And the industries that struggle the most are creatives. You guys are creatives. If you're a speaker, you're a creative, and we're the ones who struggle to really understand our true worth. Once you discover that, everything will change.
One of the key messages in your book is that you say the more value we bring, the more we can charge. But you clarify that value takes many shapes.
Great.
So for speakers, it's essentially what we do on stage.
To a large degree.
Okay,
but
so explain that a little more.
Yeah, value does take many different shapes and forms. But the more value we bring, the more valuable we become as a speaker. And I think what I've realised over the years is actually value covers the full gamut. I'll talk about that in a second. But when I first started speaking 1,000 years ago, I was a topic matter expert. Back when you carved your PowerPoints in stone and did all that kind of stuff. I spoke about marketing, I wrote a book about marketing. I was valued for my marketing knowledge. Today, I'm booked as a speaker because I'm a low risk. My clients say to me all the time, Andrew, the reason we want you to do the opening keynote is because we don't have to think about it once we've booked you. Once you've confirmed, once we've sent you a deposit check, we know now we just worry about the rest. You always deliver. You're always a hit with the audience. You are always the first person there in the morning. You're always a complete and utter professional. I'm a low-risk speaker. Now, that's changed. Initially, I thought, that's a bit boring. I'm a boring speaker, that means. But I take the worry out of their mind, and that is extremely valuable to an event organiser. And I go back year after year after year to the same events because I'm a low-risk speaker. So I know what my value is now. That's what I lead in my marketing. You've got to know what value you actually bring. It's probably not your topic. It's probably not the things you think. It's other stuff. Once you know that, that's what you lead with.
Brilliant. So the title is very clear. Someone has to be the most expensive. Why not make it you? But he backs it up with the very first, caught.
Well done. And doesn't miss a beat. A true pro.
Backs it up with the very first page. So I'm going to just do that for you guys. It says, but if you're going to be the most expensive, you have to be the best.
That's right.
What does the best actually mean?
So for me, again, we think that being the best is what we do on stage, right? I believe 80% of our success is what happens off the stage. And I think many of us would agree, without a doubt. That 80% is critical. It means you've got to be extraordinarily good at everything else. You know, I have people say to me, they try and book a speaker, they can't get them to return a phone call, can't get them to return an email, they can't get them, they don't know where they are on the day. Being the best covers everything else. It's assumed that you're going to be great on stage. All right, that's got to be an assumption, but how are you with every other part of the business? And even things like your stagecraft. You know, when do we ever become extraordinary with stagecraft? That's a lifelong pursuit. You know, that is not something that you reach a point and go, now I'm the best of my stagecraft. If you're a true professional, you never reach that point because it just keeps moving, but we're aspiring to get to that point. That, to me, is what it's all about. Being the best in every single part of your speaker business, not just what you do on here, but every single part.
Now, there's some Australian idioms in the book, and one of them you definitely, as a global conference, you definitely have to help me out with this one. It says, you can't put lipstick on a wombat. So...
And often I've got to explain to people, you know, internationally, this is a wombat, you know, and I resemble wombats in many shapes and sizes, right? But what I'm really trying to say there is, you know, you can't just say you're great, you're fabulous, and that's it. You've got to deliver. But we live in a world now that's changed. I had a client of mine recently who said to me they booked a speaker, a trainer actually, to deliver a high-level workshop, high-level 15 grand for half a day. You know, that's pretty expensive. That's pretty good kind of delivery. Within 15 minutes of being in front of this room of C-suite executives for a sophisticated organisation, they realised this man did not know his topic. He didn't know anything. He couldn't answer questions, he couldn't deviate, he couldn't do it. And he had to come clean and say, I did all of my pitch, all of my website, all of my copy, all my speaker kit, all of my testimonials were done on AI. Now, we're starting to see this sophistication of AI, and speaking bureaus, our clients are going to start getting a lot more sophisticated and doing their homework. Publishers are now. You've got to sign your contract to say, there's no AI in this book, right? So people can play above their pay grade, to be brutally honest. Those who are going to be successful for a long term are those who deliver. And you've got to deliver all of the time. Not once, not twice. Every single gig, you've got to deliver. You've got to exceed expectations. You can't just say you're the best and not actually be the best. You can't charge the most and deliver the least.
Okay, this is your pen and paper moment. What is the one thing that these speakers can do in the next 7 days?
Great.
To be the most expensive?
So my belief is simple and straightforward. You've got to stop being a transaction and start being an experience. And this means not just up here, this means in every single part of your business. So I want you to map out from the initial email inquiry to 12 months later when you're contacting the client again to say, hey, I've got a great idea and a great topic to come back to your event. Every step in between should be probably 100 steps at least, and turn every single one of those steps into an experience. Ask yourself, how do I make this extraordinary? From how you turn up in the morning on the day of the event to follow. I frame one of my books and it's cost me $350, $400 and I send it to my clients after the event for them to put in their boardroom. You've got to find ways to be extraordinary in every one of those 100 steps. Guys, it's easy to be successful as a speaker for a year. But if you want to be successful for a speaker for a lifetime, you've got to think differently. You've got to think differently. And that comes with charging what you're worth. And that's what I really want everyone here today to leave with.
Brilliant.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, folks. Thank you, Doc.